Welcome back to the lab. Windy outside, sorry about that. So I've put the front of the car back together. It's not perfect yet and it's not clean, and might have to do a rewrap just because of that little nick on the corner there. But it's no big deal, we can get on with that. I've actually got some new link stickers organised to replace these. They're a bit shabby, those ones, so we'll get on with new ones. But what we're going to do today, make a new one of those. So before we get too far into that, we need to make that a little bit straighter over there so that we can use it for a template, because these holes here are relatively important. We want those in the right spots so that we can put the screws straight through and into the rib nuts in the bottom of the front panels there, front corners. So I'll put action cam on and we'll hit some stuff with a hammer again, because that's always good fun. So you might want to turn the volume down in a second because it'll get loud. Oh, that worked. That was good, eh? It is going to be loud, so let's use those. Not ideal. This is the problem with those rubber mallets. You do have to watch out for that. Probably just needs a screw in the end of it, eh? Oh, shoot. She's looking pretty ratty-tatty. I think we need to go to Repco and get ourselves a new rubber mallet. Probably shouldn't have thrown it on the floor. I guess that might have made things worse. Pretty close for what we want to do. Rightio, so there's our board. LUL apparently it's called. As you can see, aluminium composite panel. That's exactly what it is. It's two pieces of aluminium laminated over a bit of plastic sheet. And it isn't light, but that's one finger and thumb, and I'm picking up the whole splitter. So it's not terrible for what it is. This is 4mm thick, you can get it in 3. Just wondering if I make it wider, but if I make it wider it won't fit on my trailer. So that's probably a bad idea, so let's not do that. So that's what I was talking about, where I thought we might be already at the limits as to how far out the front of the vehicle I can make this, just because this point here is fixed. Well, let's think about that for a little bit. I can sneak another 10 mils out of it, can't I? Let's do that. We don't need these bits at the back. There you go. That's 10 mils bigger than it was before. That'll make a huge difference. Not likely. Right, so what you want to do if you're copying things like this is you want to clamp it. If you don't clamp it, it's going to move, and then you're going to not notice that it's moved, and you're going to go to all the trouble of making it, and then you'll go to fit it to the vehicle or whatever, aeroplane, boat, whatever it is you're doing, and whoopsie daisy, big problems. So this is, you might be able to see that curve that I was talking about a lot easier now. Look at the distance there. Some of that is from what was hit the trailer, but most of that has been curved up quite deliberately. So now what we do is grab a drill bit, an appropriate size for the holes that you want to use. What you don't want to do is start and do some of them and check it and go, yeah, that's cool, and then try and finish off the rest of them. That's not going to work. It might seem like a good idea, but it's not. You want to have that in one piece, clamped, like I've said there, and then just do the whole lot, drill all the holes. Way less chance of it being wrong at that point in time. So that drill is actually quite noisy, so there they are. Let's use those again. Right. Committed. This is when you realise you put it on upside down and you're going to have the black panel on the wrong side or something like that. And it's too late. Frustrating when the aluminium sticks on the end of the drill like that. The next hole we want to do, a bit painful. We've just had a disaster. This has moved. Okay, so classic cluster, classic error. You'll see I've moved that over to that sheet there, the other side of the sheet rather. The clamps I had, they weren't quite strong enough. I've now got 6 on there. And as I was drilling and hitting the sawhorses and the drill was cocking over, it moved the whole splitter across. So none of those holes were going to line up perfectly. And as I described, because they're countersunk holes, they need to be bang on, otherwise it's not going to work. So if this was a customer's job, I would put that sheet aside for myself, for scraps, for whatever, doing smaller jobs, and start with a fresh sheet, start all over again. Because it's for my car, it's not such a big deal. We'll have a small row of holes through that part of it, and that'll be it. So I've moved it across. We'll carry on. So you want to, if you're using a template like this, if you're copying, obviously, then you're just going to mark it out like that, and you're going to cut to the outside of that line, and that's your template. If you're making one for a car from scratch, a little bit different, although you probably will ultimately want to make a template anyway, fit it up to the vehicle, use a piece of cardboard or anything, or start with your splitter and make it slightly bigger than what you think it's going to be, put it up on the car and check for contact with tyres. So I've made this as big as it can possibly be on the car. It does just touch on the tyres from side to side, on that side and that side. So anyway, so now that I've marked out all our holes and I've marked the outside edge of where it is, and we've still got a little bit more room to move at the front here, so what I can do is actually undo all the clamps and just slide it forward a little bit, and that will extend our splitter by not much at all, but it will be bigger than what it was before, and it won't be difficult to do. And seeing as it's Saturday and we've got to have this car on the trailer heading to Leadfoot ready by Friday morning, and we have Waitangi Day, everyone takes a day off on Thursday, so I'm not going to push my luck and try and do anything crazy with it. We'll just get her done. So some of that I'll have to take with a bit of precaution around that curve because of the damage. The other thing I like to do is, once you've marked it all out and you've figured out where it goes, flip your pattern upside down and check that you're symmetrical. So you can mark out a centre line on both patterns, that and the one that you've drawn, chuck that upside down and make sure you're symmetrical. so it's nice, because then you don't put it on the car and go, hey, that looks different on that side, and then it's all bad news. So I'll get the nibblers out in a minute and we'll cut this out. That's going to be really noisy, so you probably really want to turn your volume down for that. Sweet. There's the basics of it. So obviously a test fit is a good idea right now before you spend the next 3 hours doing everything else and then find it doesn't fit for whatever reason. So I'll do that. Right, so let's start with this one here. Just like that. A little bit more and that'll be beautiful. Now, there's a bit of strength lost here because you're not clamping the material as well as you could be. Camera aiming where it should be there. You're not clamping the material as well as you could be. If you go a washer with a bolt or a screw on the outside of it, then you catch both layers of aluminium and the plastic. If you countersink it in there like that, you're only just catching that outer layer of aluminium, and the remainder of the strength is just basically the plastic and the second layer of aluminium. So there's a lot of strength lost there. Probably too far now. All perfect. Yay. But as you can see, I've got a lot of screws on this, and you can actually stand on the front of this, no problem with it at all. It's everything moves just a little bit with my weight on there, and I'm 95 kgs, and that's all the weight concentrated in one area. That's not good. Now I didn't do that. What a shame. Never mind. Nothing's perfect, and it's underneath the car. So I'll carry on. I'll counterplunk all these holes, countersink them, and test fit it on the car, see where we're at. Let's see if that fits. It's going to need, well, it's stuffed really, but I'll just drill a hole in that to get rid of that. The same on the other side, then you've got access to the bolt that caused the problem, so looks pretty good. We'll go up there, screw in there. Eventually we'll get a screw in there. Looks like it'll go straight in. And that one as well. Woohoo! That is actually a perfect fit. There's the doofer to do the screws up. So we can do that. I got a bit carried away and took a bit much material away there, but that's fine. It's under the car, it's actually a slightly recessed panel. Not bad, good size. Right, let's take it back off again. And keep those 4 screws in my hands. And we'll get this whole panel under the car and see where we're at. Panel was filthy, and then you get all this crap all over everything else you've just cleaned. There we go. Oh no, I scratched it. Rightio. Let's start with something sensible. Huh. Might be a bit of, just as I go to say that, it goes on. I was going to say there might be a bit of rubbish in there that needs cleaning out with a tap. That's 2. Hang on. Oh, yeah. For a start, and we'll put that one back in there, and then we will run around and check all the rest of the holes. But that's let's get a start. That pulls up with all the screws. Should be good. Soon should be good. Right, some shaping to do. So there you go, that's test fitted. That's all screws actually worked first time round, which is pretty awesome, except for that one that had the roof nut missing. I just put a washer and a nut on the back of that for now. So, camera's wandering off, not sure what's happening here, never mind. There we go, that's camera's gone crazy. That's that test fitted, so I can put that panel on obviously, and the 2 bolt holes at the back line up, but I just haven't done them up yet. So next trick is to get on with this shaping at the front here. A couple of reasons for it. Aerodynamics primarily. And the second one is if you're going to hook on a ramp or something like that. If you had that just hanging out straight like that, it's a good chance it'll actually pull it down and destroy it. Same as running off the track onto the grass and all that sort of carry on. I see I've got a little bit of tinkering to do on that panel. That's not quite sitting right there. We've got a big air gap under that one, just by the Exit Tyre logo. Right, so I genuinely don't recall how I did this the original time, but we're just going to use this dangerous hammer here that keeps flying apart. Make sure the end of it's on there. We're going to hold a dolly in behind the sheet. That'll do. I spent about 30 seconds on it so far and it's working. I've left the protective covering on the material. It'll actually come out, it'll look nice when we take that off. So if you're interested, there'll be another few seconds of this and we'll get on to something more interesting. Alright, so I've taken the fancy plastic wrapping off the top because you don't see most of that anyway. Once we're done, that will have fake carbon fibre wrap or something like that on it. You might be able to see it with the light on there. Hopefully you can see I've got my little curve going on there. It's not the best curve in the world, it's got a few little dents. If you spent a lot more time you'd actually get rid of all those, get it beautiful. I don't care about beautiful. Needs to be functional and realistic for what it is. So I'm just going to start on something some of the boys might freak out about. We're going to shrink something. That's right, we're not going to make it bigger, we're making it smaller. So if we start our curve at 250, or a bit more than 250 because we've got heaps of material there, so we can cut the piece off at the end. That's all good. Shrink it 275. Something like that, 275, that'll do. Put it in here in these fancy jaws. Watch this is great. Gets smaller. Shrinks. Goes around the corner even. So the trick is getting the curve, the right curve. Now obviously that's not even close. But that small amount we've just done there would be about right for the rest of it. So that's quite a sharp curve to get this to shrink that far. It can fail, can all turn to custard, and then you have to get another, I think it was 12 bucks or 14 bucks worth of material and start all over again. You've got to also watch that it tends to crush in the frame of it. This piece here tends to cave in as you're doing the shrinking. It just requires a bit of stretching back out, whatever, a screwdriver or a chisel or something like that when you're done. So this goes on for a very, very long time. So you guys don't want to see me do this the whole way. So we'll pause and come back when we're fitting this up. You get the idea, you can see that it's bending around. It's actually distorting a little bit, I'll have to flatten it out. Not hard, eh? There you go, that's getting there, isn't it? So the corner's always a little bit hairy, so what you can do once that's on there, once you've riveted it on permanently, it's not coming off, with hammer and dolly, you can remove a lot of those corrugations. So, one more corner to do over there, the hard one of course, and that's where you really need to focus and concentrate, because if you get that wrong, the whole thing's stuffed. That first corner, you can put that almost anywhere. You leave a little bit of excess on the end like I've done there. It doesn't matter if that corner's not in the right spot. The rest of it's pretty big curve, so it's pretty simple, easy to do. If you screw up that one there, you go and get another piece of material, start again. Just like that. So I went and got some more fake carbon fibre. Unfortunately it only comes in 1.5 metre by 1.5 metre sheets, and as I've said, I mean the cheap stuff does, the dearer stuff does come in bigger sheets. As I've said, the car's about 1.9 wide, so in the past I've actually run 1.5 out to the sides, I think it was, and then had a little piece on each end, but the join actually always causes problems, this join here. So on this one I've run the full 1.5 width out to there, stuck that piece on the end. When that causes grief, I'll rip off this piece on the end and come a little bit further over. And by the time I've done that a couple of times, the splitter will probably be destroyed because I would have hit something else. Nobody's perfect. Right, let's get it on the car. Oh, there we go. New splitter attached. So that's pretty good. Same really, isn't it? All I've done essentially, sorry about the shadow you probably can see there, all I've done basically is what I showed you earlier on. It's just a little bit further out at the front, but other than that, she's bomb proof. I'm going to replace these are a little bit too long actually, and they have been bent a couple of times just from whatever, crashing up the ramps on the trailer or whatever it is. So I'll replace those and I'll paint them rather than just, that was a quickie. I didn't like the look of them being raw aluminium, and I was like, oh, I'll just put some tape over them and then they'll be black, and that was a 2-second job. So we'll replace those, it'll look a lot nicer. And I might have to rewrap this, potentially just put a little bit of black tape on that, or Vivid or something, and you'll never know unless you're looking right at it. So the rest of it is prep work for Leadfoot at this point. There's a couple of tiny little things in my pile of stuff. Oh dear, it's under all that. A couple of panels under there anyway. She's a bit dark in here now, I'll turn the lights off. A couple of panels under there that need a couple of things sorted out on them. I've shown you already, scratches and tiny little holes and things. We'll just make those a little bit tidier. Bring it all back together. There's some pipes underneath the P-clamps with the rubber coating, wrap, whatever you want to call it, sleeve on them. They got a bit munched up just from crunching on the ground at the edge of the skid pan, so I'll sort that out. And a little bit of a mess to tidy up, but and put that panel there back on. Obviously the one in the distance you can see with all the crap next to it. Anyway, I've had enough. I'm having a day off tomorrow, and I'll get back onto this on Monday. That gives me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's public holiday, and she's got to be done by Friday. So I've still got to take passenger seat out. That's easy, that's 10 minutes. I've got to put the seat on sliding rails for Paul because he's a little bit shorter than me. That'll lift the seat up and it'll give us back some boards. That's about it after that, and then it's all really just cleaning and just going through it and just check things like brake pads and all that sort of carry on. But I've had a look at that all recently and it's not too bad. Alright, like, share, subscribe, more coming.